while watching the documentary Game Over, it just kind of got me thinking. What are some of the reasons that the people who choose to play video games enjoy doing what they do and enjoy spending so many hours of their time to it? The first video game, little fun fact there, was actually made in 1958 by William Higginbottom, and it was the game Pong. That's what it was. So games have been pretty capturing people's attention since that time. Of course, they've gotten a lot more advanced. Have Have you ever heard people say, "Why do you choose to play video games? It's just a waste of time." That's basically the foundation of what my speech is going to be on. Video games have been known to provide many different interests to the people who choose to play them, and there are a majority of people who don't. So for the people who don't, this is going to help to clarify some of those reasons. I'm speaking out as a person who plays video games myself, so I'm able to kind of back a lot of the information that I also found. So now that you know my initial credibility about this, let's get a better understanding of why gamers choose to devote their time to their consoles or computers. The first topic that I found that was kind of widespread throughout the sources that I used was the competitive nature that video games bring. And that could be a sense of competitive within just like I remember one speech was given like the mini goals or goals that are set in the video games or just against each other. I relate this back to myself again. I like to play sports games, so usually I'll play online or with people, just with my friends and everything. And video games actually does give off that competitive nature, especially in sports, because everyone wants to be the best at something. So once you get immersed in that video game, you find yourself competing. And it can become rather addicting, especially if you're pretty good, because then you can brag all the time. But the other form of competitiveness is the goals that the game sets. So every game has a common thing, and that's you have a specific thing that you're trying to get to, whether that be win the championship in sports or if you're trying to complete the storyline of one game. The mini goals that are set throughout the game, and some goals are more advanced than the others. So just the game gets you thinking and it gets you wanting to play more and it gets you wanting to complete those goals. So that, especially if you're a very competitive person, you find yourself throwing a controller at the TV a little bit. You can't complete it. If the sense of competition is not enough to grab your attention, another thing that video games does is that it creates alternate realities. This concept actually I found in a article by Ben Reeves, who's he's a chief editor for America's #1 magazine, Game Informer. So he gets a lot of this feedback on games and he promotes them to his customers. The alternate realities that video games set can be a pretty deep theme with some people. They do this through storylines for the most part. Some that may even tell true stories on which they base their video games. But when they create this alternate reality, they put you. Let me ask you a question: who likes to read books for his leisure? Actually, not a lot of people. Almost the same thing with a video game, except you don't read it, you play it through. So what they'll do is they'll create a storyline, and they'll have you to play through that storyline. But what they'll do is that they'll leave out a lot of story. So then they'll make a part 2 of that game, and then by the time you know it, you spend $200 because you bought part 1, 2, 3, and 4 of the storyline that you just keep wanting to read. Almost with the same as like the Hunger Games books or just other, multiple storyline books that have been made. Another type of form of alternate reality is that can be created is just through, like I said, mainly in like sports games and things. I always had the dream of becoming an NBA player. That's why I like to play the NBA games. It gives you another way to also kind of follow your idols if you do follow sports and everything. And once I get off my 8 to 5 job at Bank of America, I love to go home and think that I'm playing in the NBA. So it changes up my reality a little bit. And if the first 2 reasons weren't enough